Okay, we'll open the meeting. Anyone have any adjustments? No adjustments? Let's move into public comment. No public? Let's move on to Corbett, Beaver control. So I've had a few conversations with Skip. After I talked to him, he started to get concerned about leaving it the way it is over the course of the winter. Events like this, he's worried will cause the device we put in there to potentially get damaged. He's disappointed that we didn't fill the dam with stone. He does agree that it's not on him to maintain the dam in perpetuity, so that's our responsibility this year, which you were expecting him to say. He said the first load of stone was helpful, but not enough. And as Clark pointed out, not big enough in order to hold things in place. So he requested we get more stone, and Clark kind of added on to that, saying, well, bigger stone is going to stay put, smaller stone isn't. So we're left with this position of we've hired a guy to go do a job. He started it. We delayed him. And now we're into the winter, and he's kind of caught in the rock and a hard spot with how do we do this? He's talked to the people who own the property. They clearly want to have the wetlands kept as a wetland, not let it flush through. We definitely don't want the beavers rebuilding under the bridge because it would compromise the road. So we're in this position where I think our guidance was, let's get the dam fixed. You're taking a position which is, nope, not me.
It's not the fact of not wanting to help or help do something, but I didn't feel right about putting big rocks in the waterway. Putting stuff that doesn't belong in there to futuristically cause us problems down the line of if those do go downstream or under the bridge, then we got big rocks under the bridge. I don't want to be fishing big rocks off on that bridge.
So the fastest speed of water is going to be under the bridge where it's the narrowest. So that's likely to flush them if they were to dislodge from the dam. You're going to keep going through the bridge. And
hopefully, but we don't, I mean, I don't.
I'm not an expert at this. And listening to Skip and Clark, what I heard was bigger rock is necessary. This kind of football-sized stuff in deluges like this is.
We did what he asked for in the beginning, which was to build the dam and to armor with rock. Part of the issue was, you know, he told us what he wanted and he wasn't around when we did it. So we kind of did it to what we thought was going to work. And I
think he was hopeful that it would too. The beavers just didn't come in and pack it in. And they're animals. We can't count on them to do exactly what we want them to do. As he's described it to me, this is a long-term relationship we build with him in order to keep this thing going. He's done 80% of his work. He hasn't charged us yet for it, but he's feeling kind of compelled that since he's sunk his money into it, that he should bill us for what he's done. And I kind of feel like we've strung him along a bit, so yeah, he should bill us. So I told him to go ahead and do that. My sense, we need to help him get the job done. I don't know, given the state of affairs with the water we got right now, what's left up there and how easily we can rebuild. It's conceivable that it's completely gone by now. If there's much water moving.
It wasn't this afternoon. It was
holding up.
It was well over the top of it. The deceiver is well underwater.
Is it really? So that opening is not enough to.
Right now, it's completely underwater and probably a foot of water over the dam at least running over the top of that dam.
And it's still holding
and through his pipe as well.
Okay.
And through the other pipe as well.
The old small one that was vertical.
And there's a lot of water up there today. And plus, Nancy's driveway is because she
must be underwater.
She's underwater.
Yeah.
So given where we are now, doesn't matter how we got there. I mean, are we going to be able to do anything this time of year, or are we basically where we are until springtime?
I I'd like to get him and us on the phone and be able to talk through how do we proceed. We've already invested $6,000 some odd dollars in having him do this. I hate to just throw that away because we've already seen what happens when the Beavers do what they want. They want to build right underneath the bridge. That's problematic.
But the Beavers aren't gonna be doing anything through the winter either.
Just, yeah, we're good till spring, for sure. The question is there something we can do between now and then? Should we do something between now and then? His pot, if you will, the deceiver, is sitting out there and it's semi-anchored, but it's in mud, so I don't know how well that's gonna hold up. The water flow.
I'd be surprised if it moved. I really would be surprised if it did, but I don't know.
It's a pretty open
I
mesh.
don't know how far into the ground it is or not, but
There's a lot of water in a couple of days, won't we know more?
We will.
So,
Yeah.
it was discussed at the select board meeting, and they did not want to put more rock or anything into that as
In
well.
fairness, I don't think we had Skip or myself at the select board meeting. It wasn't one
I
that
invited
was gonna be a
select board
discussion.
meeting if he wanted to be there. I told him, because he had texted me a big long text.
Yeah.
And said we had a meeting at the select board to discuss it. And then I told him after the meeting that did not want to put any large rock into that as well. And he said that, and we went into a little spiel of thing about it. I said, you're more than welcome to come to a meeting, which is next.
But he's not gonna advocate for this. I mean, he's got 80% of he's got more than 100% of his work done, I'm sure, in his mind. He just wants to be done with this. Not that he's not gonna help us
The
out.
impression I got from him is he'd like to.
Right, but he's not gonna show up at a select board meeting and advocate one way or the other.
He lives down towards Brattleboro somewhere, so he's not driving 2 or 3 hours up here to the select board meeting. Could he zoom in? I suppose he could do that. My take is it doesn't belong at the select board. This is something that we should be working through here. The fact that it went to the select board unbeknownst to us is kind of, I wish they hadn't done
I
that.
told you I wanted to talk to the select board about it. I told you,
Do you take everything that you have to do on the road?
they are my
crew to the-
boss.
Yes.
They are my boss.
Correct.
And
Do you take everything you do to your boss? I don't think so. Again,
if the select board has said what they want to do, it's not gonna take us out of it at this point.
if they were properly informed, that's a yes. I don't know that they were properly informed. The guy who's actually trying to do the work wasn't there. If you were engineering a job and a city council or a select board said stop, and you weren't even there to represent the project,
If the client tells me to stop, I stop. That's.
I hear you.
But given that we're in the middle of December, is there much of an opportunity to do anything? And if it's in place after this storm,
I think it is what it is personally.
For now.
I mean, to make this work, and I haven't been up there, so I'm talking without the benefit of this, but to make it work, we're counting on the Beavers putting the dam back, right?
Come spring, because I'm not gonna do it between now and then.
Right.
I watched the last meeting, and it seemed that seemed to be what was discussed was we just wait for the Beavers. And I was kind of,
Yeah.
I took it as that's what was gonna.
And there was a point in that meeting where I was gonna make the call to Skip to find out where he was at with it. And so after making that call, which was after that meeting, it became very apparent that he feels it's important for us to get it fixed now. Which was kind of new news, which is the update that was bringing to tonight's meeting, which is instead of being kind of like this, where he was kind of feeling resigned that, okay, well, you're not gonna do it and he's not gonna do it, so I guess it's gonna sit till spring. I think he stewed on that and then said, I don't feel right about this. Here I'm investing my time and effort to do a job for the town. I want it to come out right. And I'm concerned if we leave it this way, it's not gonna come out right.
And his concern is that what he's done is gonna get dislodged
You
or.
know, a tree comes down through there and flushes it out. Who knows? He's concerned. He didn't come like, oh my God, it is going to get damaged, and say, you know, for sure it's a problem, but he's concerned. I think we even kind of mentioned, it's offset from the center of the stream, from where it comes down through to the bridge a little bit. But I'm sure it's going over pretty good, and if there's something coming down through there, but it, clip it, you know, maybe. But
Yeah, if it's going over the dam at a high rate, I don't know how high rate it is coming in towards.
right, so it's a big open waterway, and
the
the next down,
is where you're getting your flow from.
velocity is at the bridge.
If one part of the dam is fixed and the beavers aren't there to keep the whole thing up, could there be another section that needs to be fixed in March or April, or until they get back and get busy?
Right. Yeah.
I guess, do we wanna, does the town wanna
I think what
be
he's
dealing
looking
with
for
those as
is,
they come up?
I think what he's looking for is, do we, the town, want to support this endeavor? Or are we just saying, bill us for what you've done and we're good, be done with it? My sense is that if we just walk away from it, we'll potentially have them plugging the bridge again, in which case you get back in it, do you exterminate beavers, do you try to keep the bridge from plugging up?
And his thought was that they were gonna go downstream in order to protect the larger dam upstream. At some point I remember somebody saying that, right?
Potentially, yeah. It's not uncommon that they do that, coordinate. He wasn't surprised to hear that they've got a smaller dam down below us. Whether that's still there or not, I would imagine that.
On the other side of the bridge is still
I can, still there even with all this going through it. They build a good dam when they build them.
They should be the ones building the dam.
Yep. Yeah.
So when he originally put his stuff in, was he thinking the beavers were gonna have time to work on the dam?
Yeah.
It just didn't.
There's no beavers. They're gone.
If the damn beavers had gone away, we wouldn't have had to
Right.
put the thing in there, right?
Yeah.
The problem is that they went on vacation and
Yeah.
won't be back for a minute.
And Dwayne did the best he could do with what he had for material, which isn't the best material to be building a
It's
dam.
upstairs, Dan.
Building a dam with. So I think we all felt, looks like a dam, it should hold up, and it did. As we got one of these kind of things came through and flushed it out. So it tells us that, no, a lot of water can come down through there.
But to put stone in there is not something the town's gonna do with their excavator?
Big stone, we can't.
You can't reach out far enough with larger
Right.
stuff.
So, looking at this strictly from a dollars perspective, is it, I mean, even if Skip's work gets lost, even if that was $6,000 that goes down the stream,
Mhm.
is it worth spending, how much do you spend to protect that, I guess is what I'm wondering.
I don't know.
And then it might be that another section needs to be,
The other question is, it covered by our insurance? Our deductible is on stuff like that, or whether it's even covered?
Got it too.
act to God, act to Beaver.
Probably.
The beaver dam is probably not.
All the other stuff that we built in there is likely not enough money for us to be able to claim the insurance and say it's act of nature. So,
I don't know why you don't think that they should be involved when they had to make the decision whether we did this or not. And they approved up to X amount of dollars to do this. So,
Yeah.
we've gone up and I made even the point at the select board meeting when they talked about this was, because there was nowhere on his quote where it said labor.
Mhm.
It's anything about labor, and I
just a
want to make sure that all his labor is included, and it was. So that was verified, so that was done.
Yeah.
So they approved $6,000 to do this job.
Mhm.
And now that it's becoming more time and expense, why shouldn't they be involved? They need to be involved with that. I would agree.
They is he, but yes.
No, the select board should be involved with, where you said the select board shouldn't have anything to do with it. We should just be fixing it or adding to it. I want to say why I disagree with that. When,
It's maintenance of the project that's in place. Project is put in place.
right, but if I get an
Then we
estimate,
need to
if I get an
maintain.
estimate on a truck that's getting repaired and it's $1,500 and we're gonna go over that estimate, I'm asked to let the select board know that it's going over this amount of money.
Mhm.
So in this situation, they've approved X amount of dollars, and now we have to purchase some tire and whatever to
Yep.
build the dam.
So,
That's why I
Dam
just
got
want to
built.
make it clear why I feel that they should be involved
so
and why I brought it to their attention.
from my perspective, the dam got built, it blew out, and it needs to get rebuilt. And that's his perspective. So that's just maintenance of what you got. And the cost of doing that, at one point, he even agreed that he'd pay for his down. I don't feel he should be obligated at this point because we're not helping him.
He was already gonna pay for a load or something to stone.
Mhm.
If I remember
Yeah.
correctly. But we spent a couple days up there. And
Mother Nature can be difficult, yep.
And we got a lot of other stuff that we got going on too. Just don't think that we're going to go back and forth, because we have anything going on. We have got a lot going on, timelines of jobs to
Yep.
get done.
Okay. Doesn't sound like we agree. I don't know that we can do much more.
Well,
At
I
this
mean,
point, given it's December, almost
You're
January.
not gonna, upstairs.
Upstairs.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
In the great room.
But was that the census of the last infrastructure meeting? I watched on the video or?
And I was gonna get in touch with
Oh,
him.
that's right, you were going to
Yeah, I was
touch
gonna
on
get in touch with him. His concerns became more elevated than what they were at the time of the last week.
My comments were, if we're gonna put a small stone in there, I don't personally think that's gonna stay.
Right.
If you're gonna put a stone in, I think.
That'd be large enough, though.
But you also have to have something that's gonna hug those stones as well. I mean, big
Well, that's
stones.
the Beaver's job.
So,
But
What we were asked to do
you
was
put
to
small
build a dam.
stones or big stones or whatever, I mean, it's not gonna light itself.
And at this point, it's probably a moot point, given what's going on around us today. I'm sure you're gonna have plenty of work in front of you for the next period of time, and so
It's a good heart angle.
going to work on this is not gonna happen. So we wait till spring, and at that point in time, reassess with them what's there, what's left, what's through, and decide how to go from there.
I would think he's been doing this long enough where he
30
wouldn't leave
years.
us hanging high and dry after the fact. We should still have his support for assistance, I would
Yeah.
think, after any kind of businessman.
Yep.
But I want to tell you guys what I found the other day in the office, in the file cabinet was an envelope. And it was from 2004, October 2004, from the residents of Corbett Road. And I forgot it on the desk, so I was gonna bring it up, but it was a letter to the select board wanting to put a beaver deceiver in back then, and you're talking almost 20 years ago.
There was a type of beaver receiver put in there. It was kind of a pipe with a wooden
But
box.
this was even, Skip's name was even mentioned in it.
Oh,
and there was
was
some
that?
propaganda to go along with it, and had a bunch of
Yep.
signatures from everybody that lived up there, and it was just kind of neat to find it, and like, here we are 20 years later, and they're still.
He's been at this since like the early
It's been like
90s or
30
so.
years.
Yeah. And I know Nate and the crew put something out there years ago, back when it was just a steam pipe. Network for a bit, and then they figured it out, plug it up. That's what his whole cage thing keeps sending to it. All right, I'd say we get this one back and forth enough, and I'll talk to him about, we'll revisit in the spring where we're at. See what-
Well, he's done his job, he should be paid for his job.
Yeah, it's just like I said,
He wants it to
to
work
save
at the end, and he wants it to be.
Yep.
A completed job, I
Yeah.
respect that.
and he doesn't want to come back to us and go, okay, we start from scratch again, we gotta do this all over, and by the way, that's a new dollar amount, so. Okay, let's move on to grant requests. Right now, Bridge 7 was on our priority screen. We took out the grant that we had from Mountain Road, gave it back to the state. We did not get graced by one this year. We get told probably next year, hopefully next year, possibly not though. So my thought is we definitely want to put that grant into play. So I should write that one. The next one is we switched the order of paving so that we'll do Irish settlement for fiscal year 25, and then we'll come back to the section from New Road up past Harvey Road. So I could put in for a grant for that because we won't get one for Irish settlement, but I'm not sure I should do that. I was just curious to what your thoughts are. I remember being told by Jim Coda, yeah, put it in every year. That way the number of grant requests stays high. It's not much work to put it in, but we're like 30 on the list right now, 35, 40 some odd towns. So it almost seems like a waste of time, but maybe I should just put it in to honor Jim's request to show the demand exists there. Just curious what your thoughts are.
But there was some discussion of asking for too much, right? Sometimes you get all these little grants, and then when you really get a big grant, you don't get that.
They're good for 2 years. So if we don't do it next year, it's not like it precludes us from being able to use the grant because we are planning to do it the following year. So it could still work. I just.
Don't you think they look at it by distributing more evenly amongst towns as opposed to who bugs them the most?
Yes, because they clearly said they look at how much you've been awarded over the past since the life of the program.
I think it's necessary to put it in every year then.
And if for some reason we decide we need to push it out again, I doubt that would be the case. Then we'd be in a position where we couldn't because the grant would be capped at 2 years. We could ask them to extend it. We probably would. My sense was hold off on it, put in the bridge grant. That way they see the one request from us and that's the one we're really after. Doesn't make a difference. Maybe, hopefully. Both are written up. I mean, I literally just need to change the dates, add in some more recent pictures. It's not that mess it up. Grant was there.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track with that.
Okay, I'll put in one for Bridge 7 and we'll hold till next year for the Pleasant Valley. Bid documents. One thing we have on the docket capital projects for next year is the Irish settlement paving. So I can just grab the standard fare that we've been using, doctor it up because in the past we've been doing shim and overlays. Now we're going to switch over to do the coal plane followed by a 2-inch overlay. So in that case, I got to switch that piece of it around. The shoulder gravel goes away because now you're keeping it grind 2 inches, put 2 inches. So you do that, stays work on your guys' part and on theirs.
They wouldn't do the shoulder if they had to?
They do, but if we're doing a 2-inch removal and 2-inch, then there's no shoulder gravel to really put down.
But when you said save time for you guys, is that, I didn't know if you were thinking that we would be.
You loaded their trucks.
Loaded them, yes.
That you had to get material and they loaded their trucks. Yeah. So it saves, that's part of the reason the prices actually come down. It's not 2.25 inches, it's 2. And we're not doing shoulder gravel, so we're saving a little bit of money by doing it this way. Okay.
We're doing the coal plan based on whose recommendation?
That was a guy we had from, I think it was, when we were looking at the Pleasant Valley area, and then we talked about it 2 meetings ago, if you were here for that one, where we said, rather than get into trouble with just continually adding 2 inches every time we pave and then potentially getting a foot or more.
Do we know how much pavement is on that road?
I don't think we have numbers on any of our roads.
Well, we did some testing on Valley Road, right? That's how we knew we had like 16 inches or something.
Yeah, Nate had done some work up there and had seen it was,
Did they bore it to check it, or?
we had, on the edge of the road, we had Tyler Billingsley do some borings, and he kind of confirmed the same types of numbers that Nate was telling us about. It was a range, but it was in 16 inches or so, kind of figured. I don't know what I was
I think we need to
saying.
verify the existing depth before we start cold plating.
You're concerned it might not be enough to,
Well, we don't have all the information. I mean, I don't know about Indy, but I don't cold plane every single paving job that I do.
I mean, unless the surface is really bad.
If you had 3 inches of pavement out there and you're cold plating off 2 inches, that, in my opinion, that's
you're going to be left with,
not appropriate. But
yeah. So the concern is if there's insufficient cover of asphalt that you could get down to a point where it's thin too much.
I don't know how many times that road has been paved. I don't know anything about it. So
I don't have that information. I do have records that show when it was last paved, which is probably on the order of 15, 16 years ago. But I don't know at that point, was it a 4-inch pave? No idea. There's no records. When I went to look for information, there's no records of anything other than the annual reports come out and the road foreman say, we paved this road. That's
Well, the
all.
road's probably never been planed anyways. I would imagine. Through the years.
Upstairs, probably not.
Upstairs.
Yes. But your sense is we ought to at least go take an assessment of what's physically there. There is that one culvert we mentioned to you.
We'll know when we do the culvert, because we're gonna cut the pavement
and you can do those
before
before
spring. I don't know when you're gonna do the bits.
Way before that.
Yeah. Could you bid it both ways?
Well, if we wait till April, May to start bidding,
No, could you bid it as a shim and overlay and then, like ask the companies to do 2 bids, we wanna bid.
then I
do a
would
shim
confirm
and
which
overlay.
one, I guess, good.
Just a thought.
Yeah. Another option is I guess we can go get a hammer drill and dig down through and see what we find.
No, I'm just,
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
I did a lot of work for pavement management in the state. And I never saw them go out on 108 in the middle of the country and cold plane off 2 inches and replace the pavement. But maybe they're doing it different now.
Yeah, that's what this guy from Pike had told us, is that a lot of towns are starting to do this, but I get your point. We're asking the gatekeeper to,
Well, shoulder material is a lot cheaper than cold plating.
Right.
but when you drop off a 1/4 inch out of 2 1/4 inches, that's a significant amount of savings in the asphalt, so that offsets. 2 inches of asphalt versus 2 1/4, you're gonna spend more tonnage on 2 1/4 than on 2. And at $100 a ton, it adds up fast.
So
I was-
eliminating the shim, you mean?
So when I was doing the math on some of these, I was noticing the price isn't going up because we're having to do cold plane. Well, cold plane is relatively cheap. But that 1/4 inch of asphalt that we're not putting in there, I think is what is making the offset price. What is that, 1/4 inch on 2 1/4 is 10-15% or so.
Well, I think in the cold plane is probably gonna take Ireland out as far as them bidding it, so it may limit,
It would take Ireland
Unless
out
they-
because they don't.
unless they've got bought a piece of equipment in the last few years, they don't cold plane. They're gonna hire it out to somebody. So,
Okay.
you know, Wickham will do it, Pike will do it, PCI will do it. Ireland's not gonna bid if
I
they've
think
got
I do remember when we were looking at pricing where we had cold planing.
well, they'll get somebody else to do it.
Yeah, no, when we did the big paving job 2 years ago, there was a section of Park Street that we cold planed. And I remember the pricing from Ireland was considerably more than the other guys. Maybe that's why, because they don't have their own cold planing setup, so they're paying
A few
someone.
years ago, they didn't.
That could be, but that might explain.
Do they bid on town work a lot anyways?
They paved River Road the last time.
I was gonna say, they were the ones that did the 2 mile stretch of River Road.
Right, two years ago, they had the town contract, right? Maybe
That's probably, pandemic out there, that's probably 3-4 years ago anyway. Typically it's Mike and
right,
Wickham that comes in with the low price, but Ireland did come in one time and ended up getting a River Road job. So,
Well, I
yeah,
mean, I'm not sure why you need a different pavement. Even if you're taking off 2 inches, I mean, put back the same amount of pavement either way. I mean, if you're gonna do a shim and overlay, do 1/4 inch and 1 3/4 or something.
yeah, I was just saying, when we changed in the paving part of the spreadsheet, when we changed from what we were doing last year, these were all shim and overlay geared at 2 1/4 inches. So when I did the math for tonnage, it's based on 2 1/4. But when we said, don't shim and overlay, do the cold plane in this, we said 2 inches. That was based on what the guy told us, most towns are doing 2 inches. So when I did that math, prices around $100 a ton. Guess what? It comes out cheaper because you're saving 15% or so because you're doing 2, not 2 1/4. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, Clark, or not. Should we be doing 2 1/4?
Sounds like you're in this business. I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
You're in this business, Clark, so this is where you step up and you really
I am not the
be vocal-
expert by any stretch.
be vocal about it, because
Yeah.
your opinion is very valid.
Well, that's where I said, I think we need to know what the existing payment depth is.
Yeah. Okay.
My opinion's not necessarily only gonna match everyone else's or the guy from Pike, so.
Yep. But starting point for you is, let's know how much we got there. If it's 16 inches, then we probably don't want to just add another 2 on top of that.
Well, if it's
If it's 6 inches or 8 inches.
Make a difference.
Well, I guess you could look at it that way too.
But what kind of condition is it in? I mean, if it's been 16 years since it was paved last and the surface is in a condition
rough.
where it doesn't necessarily need to be cold planed, another 2 inches gets you another 15 years. That's
Yeah,
a win.
and that's what the way we set this up is the main thoroughfare, River Road, Pleasant Valley, is geared towards a 10-year kind of resurface. But the side roads is more like 15. That's how it's laid out in this, and that's how we've been doing it, so I just put it through the model. But if your census is that the sweet spot would be 2 1/4, then I'll adjust all these models to say 2 1/4. It's not that hard to do. I just
Random number.
understand, but the 2 just came from that one conversation with a pipe rep who was, quite frankly, new to that because he used to run an asphalt plant. Now he's their estimator. He just said companies were coming in, or towns were coming in, and that's what they were doing. 2 inch cold plane, 2 inch. So maybe we didn't discuss that enough to go, is that what we want to do or not? And I think it makes a lot of sense to, let's go find out what we got there. I mean, in some respects, I'd like to go through the whole town and have a good understanding of what each stretch of road looks like.
That would be done with a bore, wouldn't it? That would actually pull the core out.
Yeah, it's gonna cost some money.
That'll get expensive. I know when Mike and I were testing River Road out with a drill, we were able to see, when you're drilling through the asphalt, you can tell when you start hitting gravel and it starts coming up. Are you exact? Yeah, maybe not, but you're within an inch or 2 probably. You can feel it too as you punch through it.
I think you just wanna know, do you have 4 inches or do you have 8 inches? I mean, do you?
Yeah. And now we could probably find just by digging on the edge of the road.
You can be careful on the edge. I mean, that's.
Because of how, and that's what Tyler said about his measurements over on Pleasant Valley at Harvey is, again, I'm measuring, digging on the side of the road that may not be typical of what's in 5 feet or so. So your sense is middle of the lane, bore it on both sides and
Just get some numbers, see where you're at, before you can make a decision on what the treatment should be. I'm just not familiar with the concept of cold planing off, just.
Your sense is if it's 6 inches, don't cold plane. Go right over it with shit and
Well,
over.
I think you want to make sure that you don't go beyond having to reclaim. You can't reclaim it anymore. It's,
Right.
But if you're beyond that point already.
Right.
Or if there's only 3-4 inches of pavement there.
Right.
Adding 2 may be better than
Yeah.
going back.
If there's only
to 4.
three or 4 inches of pavement, that's not a lot of pavement.
Yeah, better off to be adding to that. Sure. Yeah. Yep.
How long has that road been paved though?
I mean, the more pavement you have, the,
As I've been in town, so at least 30 years.
Just wondering, instead of a fair amount there, you would think, but.
Yeah, you'd think they'd have put down 4, and then the next time it was repaved 15 years later, depending on when it went in, it could be, it's at 6 now.
Adele, 20 years ago, they put down 4 inches of pavement. But I don't
I
know.
think they used less back then.
Especially in Underhill.
So we might be at 4-ish.
I think we need to figure out what's there.
Okay. Very good point. So how many points do you suggest we test?
I mean, just
4 or 5?
to see what you got in a few spots and see how consistent.
There's a few spots. If it looks like the numbers are coming in consistently, then. Okay. And at least 2 or 3 feet in from the edge of the road. Okay. I don't know when we'll be able to do that, but last time Mike and I rented a impact hammer drill from local outfits and just went off and did it.
Battery operated.
Yeah. So that worked pretty well. Yeah, 'cause we didn't have a generator, so it must be better. Doesn't take long for it to get down through there. So we'll do that. Problem is we're not gonna have no meeting until, which we're gonna get to in a moment here. Because both Mike and I have surgery in January, so I'm out January, February, and he's probably out January, February as well. So we're gonna talk about how for a couple months we're probably just gonna call it March when we get together again. But next week I don't have a lot going on. Maybe I try and see if Mike's got some time and we'll go out there and see what we can do.
We could converse through email, probably, couldn't we? Or
Yeah.
for that, kind of make a decision at that
Yeah.
point. With your findings and
Yeah.
the way you can get going on the bid process.
Right.
All right, anything else? Nothing else I thought that we need to get bids on, given that we're just looking at our settlement paving. Crack sealing, we already have a 3-year bid that's good for 1 more year on that, so we shouldn't need to go forward with anything on that. Next year,
You noticed a bunch of it today coming off the roads.
did you?
Yeah, River Road, even on Route 15, you can see it all.
So 1 year we had ICOM do it. And I noticed within a year or 2 after they did it, that their stuff was peeling up in places, not all, but in places. Guys from, escapes me, Fresh Coat.
Right.
Their stuff seems to hang in there better than the stuff that ICOM did. Maybe they had a bad year, weather-wise.
Yeah,
when they
just,
were
I don't
doing
know, it was strange because it wasn't just our roads, it was Route 15 as well. I noticed this one.
ICOM does most of the state work, which is why they haven't been bidding on our stuff. Otherwise, we could just go with Fresh Coat. I did notice that, so it's conceivable, it's Fresh Coat stuff too, but I do remember very specifically looking at NICOM's work a year or 2 later, and went, oh, not as good. Okay, so if we're all set there, then move on to the 10-year outlook. And it's gone dark, 'cause mine has gone dark. This thing shut itself off, maybe? Yeah, TV's. Probably didn't have anything, that's auto shutting stuff off.
Right on top
Just
of the file
hit
cabinet.
the remote on top of the cabinet. So I think it, there you go.
But it's just
Woke it up.
There we go. So, in the last meeting, I didn't change anything other than to add into the changes page, just what the changes were from previous year. But in terms of numbers that are on the summary page, those are pretty much the same as from the last review. So, if there's anything you want to bring up regarding equipment, infrastructure, or paving, now's the time to do it, otherwise we'll just flip to the last page and we're all set. We'll go right to the changes page.
I mean, you mentioned the 2-inch overlay with a 1/4-inch shim.
Yeah, so right now, all this from
I just would've
25
guessed
on
that
is
would
based
be-
on 2 inches, not 2 1/4.
But I would have guessed that would have been 1/2-inch shim or more.
I think we usually figure 3/4 shim and 1.5 on the overlay,
Okay,
that we're 2 1/4.
so you were just, okay, so you're reducing by a 1/4-inch to offset the cold plane, but on a shim and overlay, you're still planing, got it.
Still a 2 inch plane. 2 inches of material going down, so the level stays constant, therefore no shoulder
I'm surprised
crash.
there's that big of a price difference. I mean, I didn't think cold planing was that cheap.
Cold planing is $2 a square yard. Those are the last figures we had from them, and I've been ratcheting it up to 2.1 to 2.2 to 2.3, so adding 5% or so per year.
That's when they're dumping it, the town's keeping the
That
material.
includes the trucking and all that good stuff too.
Yep, we provide, yeah, they take the material and
They take it.
they take it. If we were using it to do shoulder gravel, then they could blend it in with gravel, they'd charge us for that, but that's not what we're doing with the setup here. They remove it and either put it into the blend we're getting or put it into somebody else's blend. So if we come back and decide these numbers need to go up to 2 1/4, then like I said, it's an easy change, just adjust the model. So no other items to put into equipment infrastructure paving, then we'll go right to the changes and talk from there. So as with every year, I add a new year, so we added FY '33. The 100K reserve that back in the town meeting, I put forward a request to the voters on the floor that we add $100,000 to the highway budget. And that was kind of the gist of the request. We went into discussion after that to talk about where was that supposed to go. And it was very clear it was supposed to go to the reserves. For whatever reason, Jen was taking issue with that being the motion said put $100,000 in the highway budget, additional $100,000. But the motion didn't say to put it into the reserve. What I said is I'll talk about what we're going to do with it later. And so the select board needs to weigh in on, does it go to the reserve? Do we put it back to the voters in an article? Right now, I think Jen is steering it to go back to the voters in an article again, which I think is redundant because you've already done it. But
When did you talk to Jen last?
a week and a half ago,
It was brought up at the select board meeting,
the one
the last
you last attended.
meeting,
Okay.
2 weeks ago, this
Yep.
Thursday. The problem was the auditors found
Yeah.
that. So it was brought up at the meeting, either the board could just vote to put it where it
Yep.
was intended to go.
Right.
Or it could be put back on the ballot for the voters to say, yes, that's what we wanted. It was left at the meeting that the select board members were gonna watch that portion of the meeting, or of the town meeting.
Yep.
Okay,
CTV.
and then if they all felt that there was a clear understanding of what that was supposed to be, that they would probably vote on it within the select board,
At this coming meeting.
probably this
Thursday.
meeting. Or they would make a decision this next meeting, this Thursday, whether they could just vote on it.
Yep.
But they all wanted to just view that portion of the tape, make sure they were all clear on, hear it for themselves.
Yep.
And then,
So if you go back to the summary page, I used to have right here, 100,000. So that brought that up to 116. And so I've taken it out because right now it's in limbo. So presumably if they say, yep, we agree, put it in, and I'll add it back in there. Right now I've taken it out because it's not fully.
Put it back in.
I hope so. I thought it was very clear in the discussion point after.
I think it was just a very minute thing that they found and questioning it. Sounds like.
And as finance officer, having an auditor saying, hey, I caught something.
Oh, yeah.
She's doing everything she should be doing to make sure it's all covered.
Absolutely.
I'm just following suit. The third one is significant spending increases. Just pointing out that if you look at the summary section, what I did is took 5 years counting the current fiscal year we're in back, and then 5 years going forward, the fiscal year 25 going forward, and about how much is it changing. Some is expected because there's inflation and so forth. And in some cases, we've had some pretty dramatic increases in the last year or two, so not huge surprises, but there's a big uptick. So 70% overall increase for the next 5 years compared to the current year back 5 years. Most of that comes out of the equipment section. And some of that's because, remember we talked about a mowing machine? It didn't used to be in. Now we've added a mowing machine in there. That's not, if you printed that yourself, that's not in there. I didn't add that, but I'm pointing it out that I need to add that because the mowing machine was 0 and now it's $200K over 5 years, so 50,000 some odd a year. That's a chunk of change. That's part of it. Truck prices haven't gone down. We're switching to tandems. And the other item that was in there is the excavator got moved in by about 3 years or so. So when you do all those things, that's what's driving about a 250% increase. If you took the mowing machine out, that number would come down to probably a little under 200%. So if I compare it to what it looked like last year when we rolled all this up, last year was about 200% or so. So suggesting that really the only major difference is adding the mowing machine on. The other amounts are a little bit, but not a huge amount. But it is equipment's where it's costing us.
Why is the mowing machine back in there again? I know we talked about this, I just can't remember.
So
Select board.
Russ and I had a meeting right here back about 3 or 4 weeks ago. 5 weeks ago. Before our last meeting, and I was taking you through, here's what's on the equipment spreadsheet. And I mentioned the mowing machine was something that Bob Stone brought to our attention 2 years ago, maybe. We put it in there, but we put it under $0 because we weren't sure we net pricing and all that. And the following year, we put it in there, we got some pricing, and we all kind of talked about it. And based on the pricing, we kind of felt, seems like it doesn't really ROI itself very well, so we didn't put it in there.
It was ARPA time.
And there was some discussion about using ARPA as well. So we got to talking, and Russ brought up, I've got some other things that we could be doing with it. And we run it through an equation to see, is it your cost, what to pay for it, cost structure is, versus what I get to save paying someone to do the roadside mowing, the other things that we're doing, does it offset? I think we should do that before we tell the select board to go approve it. Can we leave it in the outlook?
Yeah, that's what we kind of decided was to just kind of leave it in the outlook and just
Just
kind
as
of.
a worst case.
It's in there
this
as
is
a
what-
placeholder.
Exactly.
And
Not a for sure thing, just kind of like,
Right.
maybe down the line it'd be a good idea.
they'll see the 250% increase. That may cause them to go, ooh, maybe we don't want to do this. I don't know, but I can put the numbers.
We just leave it and then look at it closer and see if it makes sense, correct?
And I'll do the math. I haven't, I'm just kind of ballpark thinking in my head, but I'll do the math. I think it's gonna come out around 200% if I take that out. But I'll do it and see what it works out to. I can put that off on the side too as a talking point as well. Infrastructure, surprisingly, at first, when I got it, I was like, oh, that went down when I compared it to previous 5 years versus the next 5 years. Some of that was because we had a big year when we did the rebuild on Poker Hill and our resettlement. That was $500,000 that we took in 1 year. And then another major project the following year. And then it's toned down, and we didn't do loans on those, even though we planned to. We didn't do loans on them. And the ones that we've got slated coming down the pike are not next year, they're the bridge, and that's in 26, and then the payments come a year later, and they're now not 10-year loans, but they're 20-year loans. So when you look at it from an infrastructure point of view, it's on the good side in the sense of it's not costing us more. Flip side, you might go, ooh, more opportunity to do more because we're actually going down. Again, up to the board, how do you want to do this? You want to tell us, hey, I don't want to see infrastructure spending going down. I realize that our equipment spending has gone up, but I want you to pull it in, do some more. I'd like to feel them out for what their thoughts are on that. I was kind of surprised to see it be that big a decrease. Again, a good portion that's based on taking 20-year loans to go to Bridge 7, Mountain Road, and so forth. And Mountain Road actually pushed out beyond the 5-year loan. Don't have new road under infrastructure at this point.
We'll fix it.
Yeah, but I'm concerned not to, like tonight, if it flushes on you guys, we gotta get that so it's fixed. I know with North Underhill Station, we talked to Cricket, and she said we were planning to put a bridge in there at one point, and they just throw 3 pipes in there, and that'll be good. And maybe that's what we should do, is ask her to come in and assess the hydrologic situation and tell us.
I think they did hydrologic.
They did, yep. Nate had that done. Chris Cornell looked at it, and they came up with a 5x7 box culvert that Ireland gave us a price quote of $125,000, something like that. And I think you brought up the point that that's not installed, that's just a box itself. So we figured it's probably gonna run us a couple $100,000. So the question is, do we do that? Or is there something like what we did on North Underhill Station Road that could be done there? I don't know if you have more now.
I thought those were smaller culverts.
They're 2-footers.
Two
Two-footers.
One's working, one's
Plugged.
So when you're talking about doing what we did there, you mean repair the existing culverts?
So we did on North Underhill. We had one that was kind of not working, and we yanked it out, put 3 similar sized ones in there, and the beavers keep plugging them, but we've got a setup where someone's keeping it clean, so it seems to be working.
When you replaced it, we didn't repair the existing culverts.
On North Underhill, yeah, it was not repairable. It was
Well, I don't know how you repair a 2-foot culvert, I guess.
replace it.
throw it out, put a 3-foot culvert
With a
in there.
bigger, couple bigger ones.
But I think we probably should have someone, either Cricket or Tyler, take a look at it and say, yeah, that's what I would do. Before we go put in a job that's gonna cost us 200 some odd
The
thousand.
road's gone in the morning, just fix it.
And you have 3-foot culverts in the yard right now.
4 up and
Another
another project.
Our settlement.
We got a yard full of culverts right now, so we can.
That's probably not a bad thing.
So that's,
And then just fix it
you
and
can maintain it, then yeah,
and then be done with it.
way to go.
Yeah. On the other hand, if we're able to afford more, then I don't know. You go get it done so it's done permanently from our perspective.
This could be permanently if it's done.
Perhaps, yeah.
I mean, some 3-foot culverts and some labor is not gonna be a expensive.
No, it's not gonna be $100,000 to do that. But 3 3-foot culverts is nowhere near the volume that a 5x7 to handle, so.
So we'll hope the road's down tomorrow. I'll let you know tomorrow, because we have 2 more meetings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and in that infrastructure, there were the 3 large culverts that we found that did the 60 largest culverts, 4-footers and above, looking at them to see what was gonna be needed, so that's banked in there as well. Maybe after this, we find something new and have some more in here, but for right now, it's 3 large culverts that we added in to get to that figure. In the last section, the pavement one is about a 33% increase. Again, we go back to what the prices were over the last 5 years for asphalt versus where they're going.
It's basically,
It's
zero increase, right?
Yeah, and the only other point I made in here was to say that at this point, the way the spreadsheet is factored is it's based on 2-inch cold plain belt. And then we switched to Pleasant Valley with Irish settlement, just in terms of the order. And that was all I could come up with in my head as changes that were from previous year. Everybody good with that? Okay. So I'll add in under the equipment section that there's price increases on the tandems, and there's also the mowing machine added in there, and that's basically what's the driving factors behind that. Then that gets us to what we kind of sort of talked about, that January, Mike and I are out of commission. Towards the end of January, I'm out of commission in February. I don't know when the state's gonna toss out the grant program, but it's usually like February, so by then I'll be back home and should be able to do stuff on a laptop to submit the grant in plenty of time. They're due by end of March or so if something else comes up between now and then, we decide we wanna go do it or not, we'll do it. I think we can get by emails for a couple months and be okay.
Get yourselves fixed up.
Makes sense to me.
Okey-doke.